Good morning and welcome to another installment of Connecting the Dots Unscripted. After a lot of consideration, I've concluded that my conservative friends are correct. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It is President Biden's fault that there is a stubborn global pandemic that has affected supply chains around the world. Since President Biden is really the president of the whole world, it is clearly all Joe Biden's fault. It's President Biden's fault that that same pandemic has caused inflation around the world. That must be Joe Biden's fault too. It's Joe Biden's fault that Russia invaded Ukraine, causing some hiccups in the world oil supply, even though the oil we are being overcharged for now has already been pumped and stored prior to the war. But it has given selfless and ungreedy oil executives an opening to gouge the world. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It's all Joe Biden's fault that an infant formula company in New York failed to comply with safe production standards and put the supply of infant formula at risk. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It's all President Biden's fault that in spite of vaccines being readily and plentifully available for over a year, that tens of millions of people have still refused to get vaccinated in this country, many of whom got sick and hundreds of thousands died. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It's all President Biden's fault that the Great Resignation took place in America because some American workers who had long been unsatisfied at work used the time of the global pandemic to reset and choose different, less toxic, less abusive, and more satisfying options and directions for themselves and their families. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It's all Joe Biden's fault that 18-year-olds who cannot rent a car or buy alcohol are able to buy weapons of mass destruction and kill school kids, parade goers, and Saturday morning shoppers. It's all Brandon's fault. It's all President Biden's fault that the US Congress and state legislators haven't had the stones to pass a mandatory background check bill that over 80% of their constituents support, or an assault weapons ban that over 60% of their constituents support. It's all Joe Biden's fault. It's President Biden's fault that he is 79 years old. Such a surprise since he was only 77 when he was elected. And that even though he could run circles around most 79-year-olds, he sometimes shows physical signs of actually being, 79, like our own older relatives do. How dare he? The very passage of time is Joe Biden's fault. It's all President Biden's fault that some of you took the blue pill last night and still couldn't achieve liftoff. That too is all Joe Biden's fault. Let's just be candid here. Whatever you are unsatisfied about in your life and in the world, please release yourself from the burden of doing any critical thinking or analysis. Just do what others do. Blame Joe Biden. It's so much easier. Over and out.